Welcome everyone again on the webinar Freedom in the Church for LGBT people of faith especially. My name is Miroslav Maťavka. I'm the chair of the Slovak group SIGNUM Rainbow Christians. And today our group is having an annual meeting, and for this reason we decided to make for the first time ever a small mini conference on the topic of pastoral work in the various churches towards LGBTI plus people. And I'm very happy that I could, with cooperation with the European Forum of LGBTI Christian groups, start this meeting, this mini conference that we have all day here in Chynorany in Slovakia. Two special guests that are with me are going to be talking about their experience in the work for LGBTI persons of faith. They both have a lot of in common, but especially they were recognized, their work was recognized in 2021 by the renowned Swiss Herbert Hart Stiftung for their work. And they're going to tell us something about their work and about their personal involvement, and as well about the recognition that they received 2021. More later, I'm going to start with the Slovak participant, Ondrej Prostredník, who is a Lutheran theologian from Slovakia, and he was personally recognized by Herbert Hart Stiftung for his work towards LGBTI people in the church. And the next guest is Michael Brinkschreder. Is a German Roman Catholic theologian who is as well member of the group Hook, which received the recognition from the Herbert Hart Stiftung. So for my part, I'm a member of the Slovak group for 5 or 6 years. I personally, as a gay Roman Catholic, it has been difficult for years to overcome my own homosexuality, and personally as a person, but as well as a member of the church. It took me a long time to find the freedom to be who I am in my church. And that's why I'm really glad that now in my hometown, Chynorany is the village where I grew up, we can organize this event. And I'm trying to, as a layperson, to help people in the church to understand that freedom means as well the acceptance of persons as they are in the image of God. And this is what we're going to be discussing. And now I would want to let my guests to say, as I mentioned, something about their work, about themselves. And I think we're going to start with the guests from further away who came all the way from Munich to Chynorany. He's not here for the first time, but now in this sort of setting as a speaker as well in this moment. So Michael, could you tell us something? What was the reason why you became part of Hook, and what did you do, and what Hook does, or what you do that received the recognition from the Herbert Hart Stiftung?
Yeah. Thank you, Miro, and thank you for the invitation here to Chynorany, to SIGNUM. I would like to start when I was a teenager, when I was struggling with my coming out. I had two problems. The first was the taboo. It was absolutely impossible to mention even being gay to someone. It took me quite a while to express myself on that. And the second was somehow overcoming the internalized guilt feeling, or the feeling of being a sinner, going to confession. because of my homosexuality. And only when I met a priest who said, okay, you are gay, but why are you here now in confession? What you think is your sin? I don't see it in this. And that gave me a lot of freedom then to make next steps. And one of the next steps were when I studied Catholic theology in Münster, to start a group about gay theology. And we edited a journal then after a certain time of discernment and discussion among ourselves. But this whole work within theology was also a kind of experience of freedom, that there is not just one dogmatic theology and nothing can change about it. There are so many options where you can make different interpretations of theological tradition, of the Holy Scripture. And that was one of my approaches, my early approaches, I would say, but still I'm doing this, to use my freedom, my knowledge, to make changes in the understanding. I think these were the first two steps. And then 2000, that started in 1990, and quite a while it went like this. And one other big step, I think, was starting the initiative to start the queer Gottesdienst in Munich. And I think that is important. So we have a monthly Catholic liturgy in St. Paul in Munich. And I think this is also important to have a queer community together with our own spirituality. That we took this freedom, and it was really a break of rules, to find this place. And also then that again took a lot of obedience, I would say, to keep that space in the church. So it was quite a balance, not to be too radical with demands, but to say and understand the most important thing is that we are here and we have this space. So this is the kind of the first steps for me. And maybe I give over to you. Otherwise I speak too long.
Exactly, but there are already this interesting two maybe conflicts: obedience and freedom. That to be free, you have to be obedient as well. So maybe we come back to that. I just wanted to make the break, but yes, Andre, tell us something how you got into this, and you had a little bit different story.
Yes, thank you. Greetings to everybody. Maybe the first thing I would like to say is a kind of thesis that to me, a human person can be called human only if it lives in free conditions. So it goes together. You are not a fully developed human if you do not have freedom internally, but also if you are forced to live in conditions that are not free. The conditions that are taking freedom away from you are deforming your humanity. So this is something that is very important for me when thinking about anything in society and in church. The second thing, maybe I think it's important to say that I understand myself, I define myself as a heterosexual male. So I am not, in the strict sense, a member of the LGBTIQ community. I started to reflect about the issues of homosexuality, and then later the wider concept of human sexuality. In my early years of theological studies, I grew up in a family of a Lutheran pastor, and there I noticed that there is something which is a strong taboo, and later I learned that this taboo, which was mostly verbalized in strange jokes or in warnings about contacting certain people, that this was actually referring to homosexuality. I grew up in this concept. So, and normally, I mean, if something is a taboo, you don't touch it. You just leave it there. And after I graduated from theological studies, I had a chance to spend one semester in Philadelphia in 1992, and I think this was a very important change in my attitude. When I met a pastor, I received a stipendium, a scholarship from the Slovak Lutheran community living in the United States, and I was visiting different parishes, different churches, and this pastor told me, and I was as an ordained pastor, also assisting the local pastors, sometimes also preaching, and this one pastor, Paul Brnziar, I can name him. He told me that at one particular service, that he wants to know me, he wants me to know that during the communion there will be a couple who are two male, and they are homosexuals, and they will be receiving communion. And since I was about to assist him in distributing the communion, he thought it is important that I agree, that I am okay with serving communion to gay men. And this was in 1992. And I was quite surprised by this question. I had to think for a while, because I was, in this concept taboo and sin and all this stuff. But somehow I reacted that, if your congregation is okay with this, if you are serving them in communion, I'm your guest, I will do what you do in your tradition. So, and then, I started to reflect about these things. Sorry for this long story and the long introduction, but then I kept on reflecting about the issue of homosexuality, and I started to be active teaching at the theological faculty in Bratislava. I also served as a pastor for students of theology, and I was very much concerned about seriously, honestly talking with students about the issue of homosexuality. So I kept on inviting gay activists to talk to the students, and I thought it is important to tear away the walls of taboo in the church. So later on, I started to be active in the Slovak media, and I was writing columns reflecting on theological themes, and also defending the rights of the LGBTI community, because I had the feeling that the church and the society is very hostile to the LGBTI community, and that somehow helped me to be profiled as an activist, as a defender of human rights. And I was also invited to several occasions. And one occasion I would like to mention, because it was very important in my academic career. I was invited to speak at a Pride gathering in Bratislava in 2017. I accepted that invitation, and in my speech there, apologized on behalf of the church to the LGBTI community for how the church is treating the LGBTI community in Slovakia. And this was something that the bishops of the Lutheran Church didn't like. And then they used some legal instruments which led to the termination of my teaching activity at the theological seminary. So somehow that is in short my story. I had to leave the theological faculty. I could not fully develop my activity in the church. So in that sense, my story is a completely different in the end to the Michael's one, because I actually am not active in the church anymore. What I'm doing right now is that I was elected as a member of the Slovak parliament for a liberal party. It's called Progressive Slovakia. And I am trying to change the situation by using political instruments in Slovak society.
Thank you very much. I already took some notes. I hope that you all found it interesting. And this is where I would want to sort of come up with connect the two different stories, because Michael was saying that in his story, he wanted to be obedient, or when they started this initiative, this is more than 30 years ago, having a queer church service in a Roman Catholic church. You had to be obedient. You had to be sort of like put your head down, and slowly it helped the church to change the attitude. And I know it's 2 years ago when the Cardinal Marx, the bishop of the Munich diocese, came to celebrate the queer church service, the queer mass with you. And he apologized as well for himself. And he as well said he needed to learn more and then understand. He made this journey, what now Andre was sort of describing. And then we see, but the other way, I was when Andre said that you had the experience abroad where you have been confronted how to deal with same-sex couples being in communion with you sharing the body of Christ together. And then that sort of provoked your thought. And you tried to even lead the future, probably theologians at the faculty in the academic position. But then maybe you haven't been obedient enough because you disobeyed the leaders, that they didn't want you to go on Pride and be open about it. But you said that it was your understanding of freedom or of being honest. So you sort of didn't show enough of the obedience, and then you had to suffer consequences. Now, maybe the discussion with you, these are two different approaches. That is it to go slow and sort of take it in a sense to achieve results on the end, or how would you describe these approaches? What is the sort of like shall you be right away requesting we had a meeting, European Forum of LGBTI Christian groups with some members of the Roman Catholic Church throughout the Synod. And there was one Swiss delegate that was sitting with the Pope during the Synod in Rome, and she said that she requires radical inclusion. So there is this sort of this word radical inclusion, and from the understanding of Christianity, as Andre put it, it should be understandable. But then we live in a system which is not prepared for the radical inclusion. So what would be your answer to that when you compare these two ways? What is more effective? What is it time and place requirement, or what would you say to that? Whoever wants to start.
Yeah, first of all, I don't like the word obedience, even though I used it, but we started with the queer Gottesdienst in Munich just by breaking the rules. We just did it in a completely autonomous way. We did not ask for permission. And that was the most important thing, to take this freedom and use it, first of all. And then the response from the hierarchy was then, okay, they had a meeting with the priests, not with us, lay people, organizing everything. and gave them certain rules. And we looked at these rules and discerned and said, okay, we can understand them in a way that they are useful for us and we can live with them. But there was one important thing, one of the rules, and I struggled a lot with that. That was we had no permission to talk to general media. We could announce the queer Gottesdienst in the queer media world, but not in the general media world. And I thought, no, this is going too far. And it was just when the person who gave us this rule left his position and another one came in, it was no problem any longer for him. So it was just a personal fear at that time, maybe justified, maybe not. But I mean, things are changing, people are changing, and situations as well. So then I think it's always important to have this stretch, the inner freedom, first of all, to make the stretch and then to understand what is possible in the moment, so that you don't lose people, that you don't lose the contact, and you can make baby steps or whatever forward. That's but what I fear or try to avoid is sharp conflict. Because in churches, I think sharp conflicts about LGBT issues, about other issues, they lead to a kind of split situation, tensions, and then for a decade, you will no longer be able to touch and change anything about this. So that's why my strategy is to remain as a centimeter below this level.
Well, I think that it is important to recognize that people who form a community need rules, and if you agree on the rules, you need to obey to the rules. Otherwise, the community cannot function. But at the same time, it is important that these rules are produced in a democratic way, are a result of a discussion and are a result of a free agreement of the members of the community. And this was also and still is my understanding of the church as a community. And that is something that I tried to follow throughout my development in this, if you want, in this conflict with the Lutheran Church in Slovakia. Because when I was taking positions and criticizing certain theological positions of the Lutheran Church in Slovakia, it was not only concerning the LGBTI community. I was also critical about you know, the positions of the Lutheran Church towards migrants, or the lack of the church positions concerning the neo-fascism. That was a very strong issue, especially in 2014, when a neo-fascist political party became member of the parliament. So this was something that I kept on bringing up as something that we have to discuss in the church. And specifically about the issue of LGBTI community, it was my conviction that we need to change the rules of the Lutheran Church in order to be inclusive towards LGBTI people in public statements, in teaching, in everything what we do in the church. But the problem was that I failed in my attempts to invoke the discussion within the church. So it is a good question. I mean, to what extent you can go, and where, as you, Michael, said that you try to stay 1 centimeter below this limit when you enter into an open conflict. In my personal case, I took the risk, hoping that if I stay consequent in my positions, that it will trigger something in the wider public of the church in Slovakia. There were some processes going on, but the majority of the people in the church didn't join, I would say. So yeah, it is a good question. I had to use now other opportunities to work on the issues that I feel are important. But I think this should be a legitimate way also, that you stay in your protest in certain situations.
Sure. I would like to add one more experience, which is actually the opposite of what I told, and shows that things have changed. That is the experience of Out in Church. Out in Church is a movement, you could say, of Catholic LGBTI plus ministers or people who are working in the church. And we have made a collective coming out in 2022. And that was a complete success in the beginning, at least, because obviously there was a moment, and the way it was done, because it was just, we told our coming out stories and about our experience, negative experience, usually as queer people in the church. And the reactions from the bishops were to change the labor law. So to give this kind of freedom so that gay, lesbian couples can marry, trans people can work in the church, etc. So all these things were made possible, more or less, by this collective act of disobedience, or not disobedience is not so clear. But for example, there were gay priests among our people who came out. So that was also a new step, a new kind of visibility there.
And I would want to then add to that, because some things that Andre said, that a community needs rules, and maybe he failed in his attempt to bring the discussion to his church. But what Michael is saying, that what happened in the Roman Catholic Church in Germany, this sort of this group outing of the workers, it turned the sort of like, it was an, I'm just trying to find or if you agree with it, it is a number game. That basically you need a certain numbers of people who support you, because if you do it on your own, you become a martyr. But if you don't get a following, like if then it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, but it also needs the surrounding. It also needs the supporters. For example, even among the bishops, there were several supporters. The Catholic lay associations were extremely supportive. So, I mean, also this field around has to be prepared and ready for this. Otherwise, even 100 church employees are not enough.
Obviously, but through the work that we're doing in the European Forum of LGBTI Christian groups, we have in every country different experiences in different churches as well. You might have, one would think that, for instance, the Slovak Lutheran Church would be more inclusive to LGBT people or to otherness as such, and be more democratic compared to the Roman Catholic Church. Slovakia is predominantly Roman Catholic. But the Lutheran Church, even last year in Slovakia, on their synod, agreed on very discriminative, basically, law within the church. And the discussion is turning really in an opposite direction. There is a congregation in Bratislava which is still openly inclusive towards LGBTI people, even openly disregards the decision of their synod of the church. but they are not getting any traction, any following. What do you think, Andre, is it that needs to happen in countries like that? Is it that because we are as a country or as citizens of a country which is through other aspects really under the influence of whatever propaganda where the LGBT topic is so toxic that even the church is not capable to go away from the taboo, and now it's not even taboo. It is now a tool to discriminate.
But maybe before I directly respond to your question, since you mentioned this one congregation, it is one of the Lutheran congregations in Bratislava. It's called the Veľký kostel, the large church, or the congregation, the old town. And I think when thinking back to what we were talking shortly before, that in my attempt I failed in a way to change the situation, but at least if I should say that if there was some positive result, the result is that now the church authorities are tolerating the work of this one congregation in Bratislava. That we were actually, and I have to say that I was, and I'm still active.
I don't know if they are afraid to go into conflict with that congregation.
Yeah, that is my point.
Yeah.
And I am a member of that congregation. I'm a member of the church board there also, and there were several occasions where we really were thinking now the church authorities will use their legal powers to do something against one or both of the pastors. This did not happen yet, and I think that is showing at least some progress in the situation. And yeah, we have to take account that this is in Bratislava, and the Bratislava is very much different from the rest of Slovakia. But you are right. Yes, the general direction of the church goes in the opposite way. No discussion. Even this document that you mentioned, that is a kind of doctrinal document, very discriminatory against the LGBTI community. To be more concrete, maybe we can say that this document actually is tolerating homosexual persons in the pastoral service. So the church says, yeah, we ordained people who confess to the bishops that they are gay or lesbian. They can be ordained, but they have to commit themselves to celibacy. So they are not allowed to live out their sexuality. So that is already a discriminatory part. But where the document is even more discriminatory, it is that when it talks about transgender people, and there it is very clear that these the persons that identify as transgender are not allowed to be ordained and work in the Lutheran Church in Slovakia. And the problem is that indeed this document was not a result of a fair discussion. So it was a small group of people, same or like-minded, and there was no open discussion with experts, either in biblical theology nor in medicine, sociology. So there was not a wide discussion that would stand behind this position. And that is actually also a response to your question, that what needs to be done is that the church really accepts the fact that human sexuality is not only a theological question, that it is a medical question, that it is a sociological question, that there are legal aspects of that whole issue, and this needs to change. Yeah.
How is it then with because even in Bratislava, there it's not only that the pastors or the leaders of the congregation, but the congregation themselves are in support of this. How is it in Slovakia, do you think, among the general Christian population, not only Lutheran, but Catholic, or what is your feeling? Is it that basically the leadership of the churches in Slovakia is just basically going on the wave of homophobia, which is coming from the general population, or is it that they are driving it? So what do you think is the disconnect between the general Christian population and their leadership, or are they united in their discriminatory stance against LGBT people, and especially nowadays against trans people?
I think it goes hand in hand. So yes, it is true that the general population is very much under this what is part of this hybrid war, that there is that homophobia is one of the tools of the hybrid war to find an enemy in the society and to target the enemy, and people are very much under the influence. But I have to say that most people would say, but we don't care. I mean, if people, homosexual people live together, we don't care. Just don't make it a norm, and then there you see the results, the fruits of the hybrid war, that they think that the issue at stake is that everybody will have to become homosexual or something like that. They are all thinking about this in these terms. But talking about people who are responsible for the message of the church, for the positions of the church, talking about Lutheran Church in Slovakia, they are convinced about their right. So they think that this is the true biblical theology that they have to defend for the church, and that they are not, that they dare not to change, a millimeter in their positions. So what they do, they do in the good faith of defending the true theology.
Through the work of the European Forum of LGBTI Christian groups, we met as well different countries, and one of the interesting experiences that I had was in Czech Republic, which is the most atheistic country, but there are still a lot of faithful people and as well LGBTI persons of faith. And we had a meeting, for instance, it is interesting that in Czech Republic, the Roman Catholic Church has already 3 dioceses which have appointed a priest to accompany LGBTI people, to focus on LGBTI people. And when I met one of them, newly appointed 2-3 years ago in Czech Republic, he said he didn't know what to do with the LGBTI people. He didn't have any experience. He was just appointed by the bishop to do this. And then so he went to an alt Catholic priest who has already experience. And then the alt Catholic priest basically told him, yeah, no worries, you're gonna learn how to do it. And don't worry, where we are now, you're gonna be in a couple of years. So basically this aspect that even these churches, which are still refusing to be inclusive toward LGBTI people, one day they're eventually gonna get there. So this is sort of like hope that I have even for Slovakia. But I wanted to turn it to Michael, because you had a long experience with you don't like the word obedience, but you sort of like always tested the limit, pushed the limit, and you engage in dialogue, and you had the success. Do you think, because what Andrej said, in Slovakia, this sort of discriminatory behavior is in the public, but as well in the leadership of the church. Do you think that your case, that the church is now, even the Roman Catholic Church, is more inclusive towards LGBTI people? Is it matter of time and matter that you need to take the public with you, like the dialogue had to be worked throughout the years, that you need to basically work it, and then eventually it's going to turn to the positive? Or what would you stand how describing the German situation?
First of all, I think in Germany, the population and also the members of the Catholic Church were much more liberal and accepting than the bishops. And the bishops had, and the clergy in general, I think, or most of the clergy, had this fear and still the taboo beginning of the 2010 years. And then we started dialogue process with some of them. So we carefully chose who could be a good dialogue partner for us, who's able to overcome these fears and talk to us. And it was always in secret, never made public to anybody, any media, to build trust. And so one of them, that was Bishop Bode, then chair of the Pastoral Commission, he took the issue to the Bishops' Conference. And that was a breakthrough in the end. So having them to discuss about blessings or blessing of same-sex couples. That was a kind of, then everybody could speak out their mind, and there was no longer a taboo among them. And that made the Bishops' Conference move as well. And then the synodal path came, and the lay support came in as well. And that made vast majorities for important decisions in the Catholic Church, for example, about blessings of same-sex couples. But also the German Church asks the Pope to change the doctrine on and the catechism on homosexual sex is a sin. So there is really clear, we have a certain position. Our church in Germany has its position, even though we cannot make it the official position of the church, but we ask for change. And I think that's a big step forward. Now we have the AfD, the extreme right, getting stronger and stronger, and attacking the LGBT community strongly. We just had these days a debate in Parliament about the self-determination law for trans people or for transitions, legal transitions, and so it's the atmosphere it's changing in society. And my hope is that the churches, the Protestant and the Catholic, Roman Catholic Church, are now able to stand in solidarity with the LGBTI plus community and no longer be the opponent, but an ally. And that could change the society, because the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church both very strictly say we don't want to collaborate with the AfD. We are in favor of a democratic society, so no contact, no collaboration. And this is a constellation now, I think, which makes me hope. And I try to do my best to improve this and to work for this constellation that the church is on the side of the LGBTI plus community.
Well, that's for many of us in other countries a dream, that the church leaders would be the defenders of the inclusion or the rights that we already achieved, to at least protect the status quo. But coming to the example, maybe it was globally really covered by media that even in Vatican last weekend, there was a rainbow pilgrimage where almost 1,000 people, or over 1,000 people in rainbow t-shirts and with rainbow cross went through the holy door of the Jubilee of the Roman Catholic Church and celebrated openly Mass, where they went to communion, and trans people in same-sex relationships And it was a sign that was really showing, wow, look, there are LGBT people in Vatican, everything is rainbow, it's fantastic. But then we come to the reality of a day-to-day life of an LGBT people, persons of faith in their regions, in their countries. And we even spoke, even in Slovakia, you have Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. It's a totally different experience of being free in the church to be who you are. And then you go to the east of the country and it's a totally different experience. So how do you think, even Michael, you said that you went and discussed with bishops, you had to have some knowledge and you had energy and enthusiastic people who strategized, who went diplomatically, and you had sort of like experience or knowledge how to do this. Do you think that among, as well, with support, we're trying to, in the European Formal LGBTI Christian group, to learn from each other? But how would you think that we can, in the European Union especially, to at least protect what we achieved on the European Union level? Or in the church circles, we have, for instance, we have now example, generally, I would say Lutheran churches will be more inclusive, but we have the example of the Slovak Lutheran Church, which is not really inclusive at all. If you go to Austria even, you have Lutheran pastors who march in the Pride March. And here in Slovakia, you've been banned from the church because you talk on the Pride March. So even the Lutheran church, or even the churches cannot help each other to understand support of the LGBT people equally. So how do, Michael, from your experience, because you work in many international bodies, how do you think we could help each other in various countries to carry those who are behind, not leaving anybody behind?
I think, for example, by sharing best practice examples, what works in one country may be a model for another country, but that doesn't work everywhere and every time. So you need to carefully adjust. We already had, because you mentioned the dialogue process in Germany, we developed a training on how to do this dialogue and also shared this training with the European Forum so that more countries can learn from this experience. And we did it together with Josiane Peragine from Malta, because they had also lots of experience in personal dialogue with bishops there. So I think that can be helpful to develop trainings and transfer practical knowledge in that sense. I also think it's important to make theology available. Usually queer theology is all in English. So it needs to be translated and localized in national languages to be accessible for non-intellectuals who don't read English books or big books, for example. Yeah. And I think that's also something we do and try to do again and again in the European Forum. Yeah, and one of my dreams, my visions is to develop something like a European network on LGBTI plus ministry. And I hope that that is kind of could become a platform. You mentioned the Czech minister with no experience. So maybe if there is a European exchange platform, that could be helpful for them to learn quicker.
And also to establish common standards.
That's also part of it.
Maybe I would like to react to your question as well. I think this is all perfect and we need it. I mean, this international communication, learning from each other is very good. But it has its limits. And that's what I want to bring up. In my struggle to open a discussion about LGBTI issues within the Slovak Lutheran Church, I always was pointing to the situation in other Lutheran churches. The closest neighbor, the Czech Republic, they were in the middle of the discussion process on this issue. The German Lutheran churches, they are organized in this Landeskirchen. They were all through that. But the response of the authorities of the Lutheran Church was always, but we are a Slovak Lutheran Church. We are autonomous. We are here, and so we want to stay as we are. And that is an argument that you cannot deal with. I mean, it's very, very hard. The Lutheran World Federation, which is an organization of Lutheran churches worldwide, has no common position on human sexuality. The member churches have, and there are member churches who are pushing for a common Lutheran worldwide position on human sexuality. But you have, African Lutheran churches. There is they are threatening with leaving the federation, and it's a very common and similar situation in the Catholic Church. Yeah. So I am afraid if the local churches are not prophetic enough in these issues, maybe this is a very, very hard expression, but they will bear the responsibility for the people leaving the local church. And I think that the hope, if the church leaders are conservative and stubborn and they don't read the signs of the time, people are leaving. They are creating their local grassroots initiatives. Your initiative, SIGNUM, is one of the examples. We have the families, the organization of queer families in Slovakia. We have the organization of parents and friends of the LGBTI people in Slovakia. So there are different initiatives, and that is also, I think, a very important factor in changing the situation.
And then that's what I would go as well to maybe come into the basic of Christianity. The next topic for those of us who are in Chynorany, or we're gonna have a presentation of a project which started in Czech Republic, and it's gonna has been done now in Slovakia, where basically pastors or priests or people, theologians in the church have been answering some questions, how they in their church understand or how they act on LGBTI topics. It is called Faith in Rainbow Colors. And there was the producer, Tobias Friedl. He, in the latest article that he did for Slovak media, said that he was wondering that if we come up from the same Bible, we all believe in the same God, we all share or hope we're gonna share the same heaven. How come we are on this particular issue of who do I love? We can be so different. We could be so exclusive. And even this is interesting that you said that there is a Slovak Lutheran Church. We have in Slovakia a lot of these Slovak addition to everything, but it is something that is maybe not. Is it not understanding or the acceptance of scientific research? Because you said this is not an issue, it's not a theological topic. Understanding human sexuality, human identity and their gender is not for the theologian to research. But it is to research, but as well not to exclude someone from the services of the church or from giving him, taking away the message of Jesus Christ away from him just because the person is living with experiencing love or their gender identity differently. Is something that is, for me, is not understandable. But there are people who take it as a issue of power. So don't you think that we come into the main topic, freedom in the church? Isn't this just the leadership of the churches is trying to basically conserve the power to use the LGBTI topic to preserve what they can manage?
Yeah, well, to me, I mean, the issue of human sexuality is a very important part of human beings' life, And indeed, every religion in the world is dealing with human sexuality as something very important in religious rituals. So it is a way of trying to control, to prevent that the life of the human community becomes uncivilized, so to say. I think that religions are seeing themselves in the role of being responsible for the order in the human community. And thus, since it is such a strong part of human identity, the sexuality, also the churches and the religions have procedures to deal with human sexuality. So in that way, it plays a role in religions, but we can discuss to what extent it is a theological issue. Yeah? You can deal with the biblical texts that are talking about male and female and so on. It would be maybe enough material for a second discussion. But I very often say in these type of discussions that I would like to compare it to the time when the human civilization had to deal with the fact that sun is the center of this our sun system, and it is not the earth. And there also church thought, this is very important issue, and it is a theological issue that we understand the cosmos as it is presented in the biblical text. But gradually the church had to give up and admit that it is a scientific issue and it's not a theological issue. And I see, in the same way, I see the human sexuality.
One topic that we probably not gonna manage to touch because we come into a close, but it is as well, I just wanted to quickly your opinion on that what we deal especially nowadays in Slovakia, where both main churches, the Lutheran Church or the representative of the main church is the Lutheran Church or the Roman Catholic Church, use this sort of freedom to use the religious or the church theology or understanding to be supportive of practices for conversion of sexuality. We have an increase in the last 1 or 2 years of activities of international organizations which sort of provide healing or conversion therapies. And we had even this year in March in Slovakia, where the Bishop of the Lutheran Church and the Catholic Church have been opening a conference, which was this sort of in disguise in support of healing for LGBT people. It was called Crisis of Identity, where they basically say that persons who are queer have a crisis of identity and they have to deal with it. And they provide now a church religiously based services where they can help them to overcome the crisis and become straight and cis and normal, basically. And they use this sort of, when we had even professional bodies of psychiatrists or medical persons, that this is harmful. And in most European countries, conversion therapies are being made illegal. They said, sort of maybe this Slovak, well, we have the freedom of religion and freedom of choice, and they should be allowed to provide this kind of services, support this. How would you approach this when somebody, we have even like parents who are trying to send their kids to a person from the church to provide these healing services? And they think, okay, if they believe, they need to have the freedom to provide this. How would you help them to understand it's a harmful action. Michael.
Yeah, first of all, I think there's absolutely no crisis of identity. That's somewhere else, and it's a wrong understanding of freedom, because sexual orientation is inbuilt in my body, in my felt body, how I live. In Germany, we would use the word Leib, which is kind of has a specific difference to Körper, the other word for body. Which means the feeling from the inside, from the inward. And I think that is crucial. I'm not just a free person who can choose, I cannot choose my sexual orientation. That's the most important thing. It is with me, it is inside of me all the time, and it has been all the time as far as I can think. The same with trans identity. It is a felt thing from the inside of the body. This is how I am, and then I can accept this as my identity, or I can reject it and will have problems. But with the acceptance, you can have as well problems with the society then, and that's the case. And then the second thing is, what is the kind of healing? There is no healing. We know by scientific evidence that any kind of conversion practice does harm and never leads to a real change of sexual orientation. And so you could do, if you are a doctor, you would never prescribe a kind of drug like cocaine or something like this to your patients, because you know this is harmful. And you must not do this. And that the same is with conversion practices. You do something harmful to the people, and you must not do this. This is against any kind of ethics.
Yeah, and I just want to add that it really is a shame that the representatives of the main two churches in Slovakia, Catholic and Lutheran, are on the side of these harmful practices. It is the result of their, heteronormative thinking. They are, as I said previously, they are convinced that this is the good, true biblical understanding and a good theology. But as Michael said, it is not. It is a theology that has been long overdue. I mean, it's not correct, and it is a problem. And I very often speak of the lack of the quality of theological education in Slovakia, both in the Catholic and in the Lutheran theological institutions. We have to change that in a very profound way.
Okay, we are grateful as well to European Forum of LGBTI Christian groups to allow us to do this in cooperation using their tools, their logistics. And I would come back to what Michael was saying. There is a lot of opportunities to learn from each other, to do the good work together in the European countries and even globally. For me now, I just want to thank you all. Thank especially Andre and Michael for taking time to come into Chynorany, Slovakia, which is for us a big deal, because this is a 2,500 people, small village. And it is sort of a first ever in a small village, and even like this. That we have rainbow in the middle of the village. The people, you could imagine when they pass by, they are sort of looking with strange looks what is happening there. So this is as well something that is going to be, we're going to be processing it and learning from it. And this is what we hope, that it's going to change the attitudes, and that even in small village, middle of Slovakia, there are LGBT people, and that they want to belong to church, and they want to have the freedom to be who they are as God created them, as God created us in his image, in this diverse image. So again, thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Andre. And
thank you, Miro, for organizing this and for leading us in the discussion.
Thank you all, and I hope I wish we're gonna meet again on any other European Forum activities. Take care. Bye.